Hello, everyone. Hi, and welcome to another SocialBee webinar. If you don't know who I am, hi, I'm Anca. Together with me, we have David Hensel from upcoach. And today we are going to start talking about how to sell more when you hate selling. And I, for one, know for sure that I hate it. Hi, how are you, David?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. I'm excited to learn more about upcoach and about the topic that we just mentioned. Before we begin, I wanted to set some ground rules. And while I do that, I do have a question for you guys. So let me know where you're watching from. I'm from Romania right now. So David, where are you based?
I'm currently in Bodrum, Turkey. I'm from Germany originally, as you can maybe hear by my accent. Somehow it doesn't leave me. I've been living in Los Angeles for 8 years, and my wife wanted to move back to Germany, but I could not go back to German weather conditions. I just talked
Mm.
about that before we got started. And so we moved to Bodrum, Turkey, because it's somewhat close to Germany. It's just a 4-hour flight versus like a 13-hour flight.
That makes sense. That
So
makes a
the
lot of
family, and we're very happy here.
sense. Well, I'm curious to see where everyone else is from. And in the meantime, my colleague Andrea, who just posted in the chat, she'll be there to help you guys with anything. So if you have any issues, alert them to Andrea and she will let us know. She'll also be gathering any questions that you guys may have so that I and David can answer them later on, because yes, we will have a Q&A session. And yes, this webinar is recorded, so you will be getting the recording to this webinar sometime either today or tomorrow once the video gets processed. I think we're ready to... Oh, I see someone from Germany here as well.
More Germans. Yeah. All right, Florida. I've spent a lot of time in Miami and West Palm Beach. And
Awesome.
Austin, we almost moved to Austin with my last business. We were in Los Angeles and we thought about moving to Austin because we did not want to pay California taxes.
Mm,
And then back then, this was like 2010 or so, 2011.
mhm.
And we were scared because back then remote work was not that big of a thing and we did not move. And then when we sold the company, we all cried a little bit when we paid California taxes. So should move to Austin.
That's amazing.
More Germans, lots of Germans.
More Germans. Well, I love that. How about we get this party started so that we don't take up too much of everyone's time? Let me first introduce myself properly. I'm Anca Pop. I am a customer success specialist here at SocialBee. And if you don't know what SocialBee is, we're a social media management tool meant to help you create, schedule, share your content, and then also analyze your content so that you know exactly what works and what doesn't for your social media. So you can use SocialBee as an all-in-one magic tool to help you curate your social media feeds and make the most out of your strategy. Together with me today, we have David Hensel, co-founder of upcoach and so many more companies. David, I will let you take it away from here.
All right. Just saw somebody say like they do not like sauerkraut even though they're in Germany. I'm vegan. I don't drink. I do not like soccer and I'm not into cars, so I got expelled from Germany. They said, "Hippie, go to Southern California where you belong." Yeah. So
But actually, yeah, that's one thing I was very surprised about. My best friend is a vegan chef. She moved to Germany because of the fact
oh
that,
no, it's actually it's big. It
yeah,
became very big in Germany. But
yeah,
yeah,
actually, yes.
I'm
So I was
a
very
vegetarian
impressed with
since I'm 18, so back then it was not the case. But anyhow, about me, I have a portfolio of companies. Upcoach is one of them where I'm very active in. And yeah, I will not, I'm not here to advertise, but yeah, I run a portfolio. Majority of my time goes in upcoach and into managing happiness and into love, not fear, which are my passion projects. And yeah, I think that's enough about me.
that. Awesome.
I'm a recovering introvert, and first I'm gonna tell you a little bit about upcoach and why we built it. But then I'll share with you how I became from being a super introvert who hated selling, who would have never been on this webinar or podcast or speaking on stage, like 15 years ago, if you would have said like, hey, go on the stage with 1,000 people or shoot yourself in the face, I would have shot myself in the face with a big smile. And I want to
Same.
share this transformation that I had and like how I transformed from being an introvert to a recovering introvert. So yeah. UpCoach is a coaching delivery system, and I built UpCoach because before I had an online course. It's called Managing Happiness, where I help people to apply business principles to their personal life. It's one of my passion projects, just helping people. And the problem with Managing Happiness or with the course was that only 7% of the people who bought my course completed the course. And I thought, oh gosh, my course must really suck. That people give me the money, but they don't complete the course. But when I looked into it, it's actually a normal completion rate. But this was really bugging me because I wanted to transform people's lives. I want to have an impact. It was not about making money. I've been very blessed by being successful selling my last business. So this was like purely my passion project. And so I switched from the course to cohort-based coaching, and this flipped it on its head from a 7% completion rate to a 93% completion rate. And it worked really great, but it was cobbled together with lots of different software tools. So, an email and WhatsApp and a course platform and so many things. And because I'm busy with all my other businesses and this was just my passion project, I needed more, something that's easier. And I was looked around, I could not find anything. So I asked the CTO of one of my businesses to build me something that does this. We start with a group habit tracker because I'm a big believer in positive peer pressure. And with the habit tracker, I see if you do your habits and vice versa. So this peer accountability. And this was the first thing that we built. And then we added more and more to it. And at some point, I thought, holy cow, we actually built a really cool software for coaches. And I reached out to a friend of mine, Todd Herman. He wrote The Alter Ego Effect. He's a very popular coach in the United States. He really knows what he's doing. He's been doing this for over 25 years. And I just recorded a Loom video saying like, hey man, I built this thing for coaches, even though I'm not a coach by trade. What do you think? Just want to get feedback from you. And he responded back like, I want to invest in be a business partner. This solves 90% of my business problems. Like, that's amazing. Like, holy shit. This was not what I expected. But yeah, so here we are 3 years later having UpCoach. So if you want to switch to the next slide.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Managing Happiness, I just talked about this. We went from a 7% completion rate to a 93% completion rate. I really changed the game for us. You can go to the next slide. It's just like showing, we have the community in one place. We have chat in one place, lots of different apps that we build it in a way that similar to Elementor in WordPress. You have this drag and drop thingy where you can like drag in all the tools that you may need to deliver your coaching platform. And yeah, it works great. You can check it out on upcoach.com. I don't want to pitch you. Let's go to the meat of the presentation. Yeah, this just from Managing Happiness. It's applying business principles to your personal life, for having like a vision and mission and core values for the most important areas of your life. For example, for yourself, mind, body, and spirit. If you go to the next one. And then for your role as the professional, figuring out like what's your vision and your mission there and what are your goals. And the last other area of the important areas in your life is you as the relationships or family. How do you want to show up there? What do you really want there? And once you have this clarity in your life, it's like in the business, if a business knows what it's doing, having a clear mission and vision, it works phenomenal. Maybe just the origin story of this. My wife and I came home from a long meeting about the roles and responsibilities at my last business at Max CDN. And our daughter was still young. She was still in diapers, sitting on the couch. And I pointed out to my wife saying like, hey, honey, look, Emma has a full diaper. And this made my wife explode and was like, why is she so upset? And then I realized like, came maybe across as me telling her to do that, which was not my intention. But then I thought, why are we fighting about this? And then I realized we had never talked about the roles and responsibilities that we have in our lives. And the next morning we sat down and spelled them out, and this took away 80% of friction we had in our relationship. And I thought, holy cow, if this works so well, maybe we take other elements of business and apply it to a personal life. This worked so well that I want to share this with others. Hence, Managing Happiness was born. But let's get into the topic of our selling. If you hate selling, I really hated selling. I used to be so introverted. I was even uncomfortable on a conference call with my own team, or running a meeting with my own team or conference call with clients was all horrible for me. And selling, I just sold out of fear because, as a startup, you have to sell, otherwise you die. But this all changed. If you go to the next one, it all changed when I met this guy who's one of my best friends now. We met at conferences. We also went to similar industry conferences, and I saw him just crush it at conferences, public speaking and networking. And I thought, holy cow, this was, I saw how good this was for his business, and he had a lot of fun doing it. And I thought, okay, I want this too, right? But how do you get there, right? And if you go to the next slide. So I did Toastmasters. For those of you who are not familiar with this, these are very cheap and very effective and also fun public speaking clubs. They're pretty much all over the world, and every bigger city has a bunch of them. So yeah, I did this twice a week. And if you go to the next slide, I also went to 2 networking events in Los Angeles per week. And I talked to everybody and their mother until I overcame my shyness through exposure therapy. And in the beginning, it was actually really brutal to do that, but I just did it because I, wanted to achieve this. So it got better. I got less anxiety, less stressed, and less shy. But the real transformation happened. When you go to the next one, is when I was in a yoga class and my yoga teacher said, every decision in life, you either make out of love or out of fear. These are the 2 basic emotions why you do everything in life. And this was something that was so profound to me that I almost fell out of my downward facing dog position, because this was something I always knew deep down inside, but now she gave me this framework. I've been applying it to everything I'm doing in my life. If you go to the next slide, please. For example, public speaking. Before, when I was on stage, or even before going or contemplating to be on stage, I was full of fear, thinking, do they think I have a weird German accent? Do they think I look weird? Do they think what I'm saying is stupid? And I just when you're full of fear, or when I'm full of fear, I can't present. It's all about me, 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 me. But if I turn this around and I'm acting out of love, because what I'm sharing here, similar to this webinar, what I'm sharing here can help you potentially in your life or in your business. And when I'm thinking about you and acting out of love, it becomes very easy to be here and share with you or standing on stage, right? If you go to the next slide. Our sales, our main topic here, I always felt like a used car salesman, shoving product down somebody's throat, because I was selling out of fear, because you have to pay your mortgage or you have to hit your numbers. But once I realized that if I sell out of love, if I know that this product can be good for you, if upcoach can be a good product for you, I can even be pushing and say, freaking buy this. It's going to be amazing. It's going to transform the way you do your coaching. It becomes very easy and also very genuine. And you will feel where I'm coming from, that I'm doing this to enrich your life and not to fill my pockets. Right. And I've seen this countless times that when people have this mindset switch. In one of my portfolio companies, one of the leaders there is a very technical guy, and he hated selling with a passion. And once I made him understand that he's like a doctor, he has the pill to give it to people that they'll get better if they really need what he has to offer. And this really turned him around to become an absolute rock star salesperson. I think the same thing will happen to you if you understand that you're here to enrich other people's lives with the skills, with the service that you have. And you can be sure that this person actually really needs your service and that you can really make a difference in their lives. And then it becomes very easy to sell. And just like how, people will buy, they will not feel that they're being sold to, because they'll just feel where you're coming from. And
it will feel like a solution being offered instead of a sell.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And also realization that money is just a side effect of providing value. If you figure out how to provide massive value to lots of people, then you'll be the richest person around, and becomes very easy once you are in the mindset of like, hey, I'm here to enrich people's lives with the service that I'm offering. And also it becomes almost like a, what's the word? Almost your duty, like you, especially a lot of you are coaches, you have something to offer. You can help people to transform their lives, to, just make their lives better. And it's, at least I feel like this with managing happiness, for example. I'm growing this, I'm doing this, even though I like to be in the background. I don't like to be front facing. I like to be in the background and like kind of be the puppeteer, and like, but I'm not like to be out there. I'm just doing it because I think it has to be done because I can help people with it. And so, yeah, I guess that's the main message that I want to convey to you, that you can turn this around if you change your mindset and acting out of love and not out of fear. To the next one. Yeah, networking at conferences. Again, I hate it with a passion, but now when I see another person at a networking event or on a flight, I just think like, hey, there's another person. Let's see how I can provide value to this person. Then it becomes very easy to just walk up to anybody and say, ask a few questions. And, I know what I'm good at, what I can help with. It can be personal development or business practices or whatever skills that I have, organization development. And it doesn't have to be that I'm selling my services. It's just about providing value, always playing the long game. I often like just meet people at conferences, help them in whatever way, shape, or form, and then later they'll give me introductions, saying like, hey, talk to David, he can help you with XYZ. Even though it's like we never worked together on we never worked together, we just like had and just provided value to them. It always comes back. In personal relationships, it also works when you apply this love not fear principle. My wife always asked me to do things around the house, like, hey, could you assemble this piece of furniture, or could you hang up this picture? And I always did these things out of fear, because I hate doing these things. I prefer doing my taxes over them. But I did it out of fear because I do not want to have conflict with my wife, because she wants it, and then with like this, and I always really hated it. But now that I have my love not fear mantra, I still start. Actually, by the way, if I was doing them out of fear, the result is often shitty, because if you do work and you do not put love into it, the result is not good. And then I had a fight with her afterwards anyway, because it's not up to her spec. So now that I have my love not fear mantra, I still start out of fear sometimes, but then I switch to love to make my wife happy and to make our place nicer. And then sometimes the task is actually not that bad. It's this mantra applies really to almost everything that you're doing in your life, and it can enhance your life massively. There's also another passion project of mine, making everybody understand that there is this thing that the main decisions that you make are made out of love or out of fear, and to learn the benefits and like learning how to make the transformation to come from a place of fear and turn it into love. There's one book that really took my understanding of the love not fear principle to the next level. It's Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. In this book, he interviews the devil, asking the devil, what is the devil doing to make us not reach our goals, to hold us back? And the biggest tool of the devil is fear. And you may know Napoleon Hill from his better-known books, Think and Grow Rich. This book, he was published 40 years after his death, because he was scared to publish it, because it's so critical towards the school system, towards church, towards the society. So yeah, please do yourself a favor, check this out, buy this book. If you don't like it, send me an email, I'll give you the $20 back. I'm serious about that, by the way. That's the next one. Yeah, and also go to lovenotfear.com, check it out. I'm just like building this up, turning this into a community, which is also run on upcoach, by the way, and working on a course so people understand this. And so yeah, check out Love Not Fear. See here, stickers everywhere. And then last thing I want to share with you, this is the normal purchase journey of a customer. There's like the awareness, then they're in the consideration phase, and then they're in the buying intent, and then they purchase. And in a lot of organizations, this is where it stops. Some organizations provide support people after the purchase. Some push it a little further so the customers become loyal and stay with them over a longer period of time. And some push it even further and turn them into advocates. And word of mouth is like the best way of selling, especially when you hate selling, that people just come to you. And you do this by selling out of love and really providing lots of value to people. Then you naturally push them up this other pyramid here. And then when you send them swag, I'm a big fan of swag, of like stickers, t-shirts, or whatever personalized stuff. It doesn't even have to be your company brand on it. It just has to be something that people will use and wear. Because then people ask like, oh, ideally something that stands out, like some funky color or whatever. So other people ask for, hey, what's this? Because people love to share good stuff. It's deeply ingrained in us from Stone Age times. If I can tell you like, hey man, eat these berries, they're yummy, do not eat these, they make you sick or they kill you. When I do this, then I rise in the social status in your perceived view. So it's deeply ingrained in us that we want to do this with others, but we need the trigger. Like if you have a coaching service and somebody, he will not start talking about your services, but if a friend asks like, hey, what's this bracelet or what's this stone or what's this thing, then they say, oh, I got this from my coach. It's for example, for remembering to be present in the moment or whatever it is, whatever you're doing, right? And then they have the opportunity to pitch you and share your services, and then you may get another client, because this way you don't have to sell, other people will sell for you.
So it's kind of like a gateway or introduction to the coach's program, right?
Yeah, I mean, just like get people to. I had like a fitness coach was sitting next to me on the plane, and I pushed him to build a. He said he's struggling with his business, and I'm a business nerd, so I chatted with him about like what you can do. And the idea that I had was like he asks his customers he should focus only on women, and he was Argentinian or Mexican or whatever, like only focus on Latin women, so like be niched down, and then ask them all like to paint their pinky nail in a certain color, like some whatever funky color, but only one, so they get reminded of like to stick to the habits, to eating habits or whatever. And then also other people may ask them like, hey, why is your pinky in that funky color? And then they have the opportunity to share about this thing, to have other people do this for you.
Really cool.
And I think
that's it. Well, thank you so much. That was incredible knowledge. I absolutely adore love, not fear. I will start using that moving forward. Okay, so we've talked about how you can improve on selling without hating it. I'm going to walk you through 5 tips on how you can do so by using your social media. Social media typically is highlighted as a tool for brand awareness, it's a tool for customer support, but not as much for sales. However, it can be used to improve your sales without actually selling. And I'll tell you how to do that in the 5 tips that we have next. Starting with tip number 1, don't spread yourself too thin. So the first thing that I want to highlight is the importance of taking it step by step, brick by brick, if you will, and just go one social platform at a time. So if you notice all of these coaches being there on TikTok, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on all of these platforms all at once, and you might be tempted to do the same. However, it's always best to start small. And you can do that by focusing on 1 or 2 platforms in the beginning and then scaling it up as you go along. Once you become more comfortable with using these social platforms and once you have a clear strategy down. And if we're talking strategy, for instance, Instagram is a good place to have audiences be educated or inspired or motivated through visual content. And by visual content, I'm talking images and video content. So it might be a good thing for you to do if you're more of a visual person. On the other hand, Twitter is very debate oriented. So they do engage with images, with videos, with visuals, but also they expect professional advice, they expect interaction, they expect news, they expect a lot more from you than they do on Instagram, for instance. On the other hand, Facebook, this is where it gets a little more varied with the content. You can include text, you can include images, you can include visuals, you can talk about trending topics, as well as offer discounts, sales, and behind the scenes content. LinkedIn, on the other hand, is there for expert opinions. So this is where you can become a thought leader in your industry. This is where you would share industry news, topics of interest, as well as longer form content. So share your opinions, share your articles, share your news. All of that would work better on LinkedIn than it would do on Instagram, for instance. Pinterest is good for visual inspiration. It is what it is. It can help people collect inspiration and educate themselves on topics of interest. And that's what you're there to do with that. So when we're talking about the social platforms that you're going to choose, before I go back to the second tip here, is to look at where your audience is online. First of all, know your audience, and then look at where your audience spends their time online and choose the one or two platforms where your audience is online and where you're most comfortable creating content, and start from there and slowly move into other platforms as well. Now, if we're talking about the second tip, this is where I urge you to share content that brings value to your audience. David also mentioned bringing value helps you sell a lot more than selling for selling's sake. If you bring value to your audience, they will come to you whenever they need help. And here are some ways in which you can offer value by making your socials a source of knowledge. This is where they come to clarify the newest concept that everyone's talking about. This is where they come to research interest topics. It's where they can get introduced to new information in the industry, information that they might not have known that they needed. It's where they can interact with other people who have the same interests in the industry. So bottom line is to create content that doesn't focus on promoting the services, but rather on creating quality, valuable information for your audience. And then the selling part comes automatically with that, because you will be providing value that keeps your content top of mind to your audience, which means that whenever they have the need, you'll be the first person they think about. The third tip is to have a balanced content mix. And a balanced content mix is a way for you to juggle with different types of content that can help you make sure that your audience stays engaged, that your audience doesn't get bored of your content, that audience fatigue doesn't get into your socials, because that leads to people ignoring your posts. So how do you create a balanced content mix? Well, the first thing is to get a better idea of what pillars of content you're going to be using. You're going to be using educational content. You might be using some promotional content, maybe testimonials. Maybe you will have polls. Maybe you'll have some memes, depending on your personality, on your tone of voice, preference, and all of that. You're going to use a few types of content in your mix. And the way you can balance them is by looking, for instance, at the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your content actively provides value to your audience. And that value could be a mix of information, education, and entertainment. And then 20%, the remaining 20% will be promoting your business and your services to your audience, just to kind of keep in mind, or have your audience keep in mind, the fact that you actually are offering that as a service as well. So if we're talking about the 80-20 rule, this can translate into, let's say, 6 posts a week, out of which 4 posts will be meant to inform, educate, or entertain, and 2 posts could be meant to promote your business. The 2 posts being maybe a testimonial, which brings your authority higher. It tells your audience that, yes, you know what you're talking about, along with the added value from the 80%. And then 1 post actively promotes your business and your services, just to let your audience know that, hey, this is what I'm offering. So in case you are interested, I can help with that. The first tip in my list is to leverage specific features of each network. I previously mentioned about how Instagram is very visual, how LinkedIn can be used to share industry news and all of that. And so all of these platforms have specific features that can help push your content further and help with the engagement part and the community part of social media, right? For instance, we have Facebook, which has a great opportunity to create communities through Facebook groups. They can start discussions in there and interact with each other. On the other hand, Instagram is a great way to reach new people through video content, Reels, which is very effective right now, along with real-time interactions through stories, where you can have all of these interactive stickers like polls and question boxes and links and all of that you can use. Twitter is great for debates, as we've previously established, and LinkedIn is perfect for networking. So it can help you interact with other people who are doing the same thing or complementary things to you. They're also helping you attract decision makers for the businesses who need your advice. And then there's YouTube. YouTube is perfect for longer form content, video, of course, but it can also help you with shorter form content. So you can make your long form content into bite-sized pieces by using YouTube Shorts, which in turn can also be repurposed as Reels for Instagram or TikToks even. TikTok is another great example of a platform that is very able to educate and engage a younger audience. And the last tip that I have here is engaging with your audience. I left this at the end for a reason, because typically there's a lot of business people who think that social media ends with publishing the post, and that's never the case. You create the post, you publish the post, and then you engage with your audience, because the audience needs to feel your presence as well. And if you are just publishing and not interacting with them in any way, you're missing out on a lot of great value. You have quite a few ways of doing that, but I'll focus on the 2 main things in this slide. So replying to conversations is a must. If people ask you questions or let you know or comment to your images on Instagram, for instance, reply back, even if it's just to say thanks. If they say, hey, that's a nice quote, thanks. The fact that you noticed them and you replied back is huge for them. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have initiating conversations, which is where you go outside of your account and you interact with people who post similar things on hashtags that are relevant, on other discussions that are in the same topic of interest and things like that. So go ahead and get out of your account and interact with other people. And to interact with other people, this is what you can do as a suggestion, if you will. So the first thing and the easiest thing to do, the low-hanging fruit, is to initiate interactions with accounts that are already in your follower list. This way, you know that these people are already interested in you. They are already following you, so they are eager to get more value from you, and you're there to give it to them by interacting with their images, replying to their comments, and so on and so forth. I already mentioned going through posts with relevant hashtags and looking at the hashtags that you're using so that you end up reaching new audiences through them, and also use social media monitoring tools to identify accounts that are mentioning you, maybe without mentioning your social handles, and just talking about the topics that you're interested in so that you can join the conversation. And this can be especially useful on Twitter. It can be useful on LinkedIn. It can also be useful on Facebook. Why not? Okay, so those were the 5 tips that I have. It's time to ask any questions that you may have. But while you do that, and while we have them ready in our document, let me share with you a few thank yous for joining us today in this webinar. So first of all, if you're interested in upcoach, you can get 20% off for 1 week when you use the coupon code that is SocialBee December 22. The code that is up on the screen right now. I'm sure that I mispronounced it. And then if you're interested in SocialBee, you can get 50% off for 3 months when you use the code upcoach50x3. And you can quickly do that by joining through the link that's on the screen right now. And if you have any questions or any concerns, either about upcoach or about SocialBee, you can always get in touch with us either at hello@socialbee.io on my side or hello@upcoach.com on David's side.
Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, which also works.
Or that too, yeah. That's also a good option. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, and let's see if we have any questions here. We do have one that I already see in the chat. Social media monitoring tools. Do you have any examples of these? Well, for one, you can use each individual social platform to do that natively. That's one of the best options. And for two, you could be using SocialBee, which is a feature that we will be developing very soon. I'm actually releasing very soon. It's in development right now. So you will be able to do that with SocialBee as well. Awesome. I don't see any questions in here other than that, but I do have some interesting comments here that I'd love to share with you, David. So I have this one that says, I like cohort-based courses. We have just run one on another platform, and I'm hoping to move it across to upcoach.
Yes, please.
And then we have Toya here. I hope I'm not mispronouncing the name, saying that exposure therapy is great, wonderful for you for doing that. And then we have self from love is a wonderful mantra. And last but not least, we have always playing the long game, providing value. Yes, that's absolutely the case. We always want to make sure that you provide value first, and only then you ask for something in return, which could be selling. I think that's it. If no one else has any other questions, I'm just going to make sure to have the discount codes up on the screen for you guys. And thank you all, guys. Thank you all for joining us today. You'll be getting the webinar recording very soon. I'm sorry, I'm really tired right now. I don't know what I'm talking about. Hope
Great.
you guys really enjoyed the session today. And we thank you, David, for joining us. And I guess we'll see you guys on our next webinar.
Thank you all. Take care.
Enjoy your evening or your day, depending on where you're from.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.